friends and fellow devotees of the Lord, namaskars to every one of you. It is such a joy to be in your midst this evening. Let my first word be a word of gratitude. I feel grateful to every one of you who, in spite of the heavy shower, every one of you who has come here to listen to my broken words and to give me the blessings of your brave, beautiful hearts. They are observing my 98th birthday. But may I tell you, I feel as though I'm only 9 plus 8 years. Yeah. Youth is not a matter of years. Youth is a state of the mind. If you keep your mind fresh, if you keep your mind open, if your mind is prepared to receive new ideas, if you are prepared to experiment, to perform new experiments in the laboratory of your life, you continue to be young. Old age does not touch you. I feel grateful to you, to all of you. Mrs. Prabha Sampath spoke a little while ago. Beautiful words out of a beautiful heart. Some of those words were about me, words which I have done nothing to deserve. As I have repeatedly said, I am but a simple pilgrim, a wanderer, a vagrant of the Lord who keeps moving from place to place, from country to country, moving in quest of fellow pilgrims in whose hearts there may be a deep hunger and intense thirst for the higher, the spiritual values of life. I am but one of the many sevakas of the great master whose portrait is here in front of us, Sadhu Vaswani. There is a fragrance in his name. There is a music in his memory. He carried with himself a tremendous power of the Spirit. He was a man of spiritual magnetism. His was an electric personality. Around him was a luminous atmosphere, an atmosphere of light, a mark of the servants of God and suffering humanity. People heard him, people saw him. Around him were many who, in comparison, looked so little, and yet he gave himself no supernatural airs. He was so simple, he was so humble. He was one of the humblest men that ever walked this earth. As was told you by Mrs. Prabha Sampath, I have been asked to give a short talk on Switch on the Light, which will be followed by a question answer session. Today, wherever you turn, there is darkness, and this darkness keeps on growing. How may we go out of the dark into the light? I asked Gurudev's Sadhu Vaswani once, and he answered, love leadeth into the world of light. How? I asked him, and his answer was, in the words of the great mystic poet of Iran, Jalaluddin Rumi, love lifteth the veil. Yes, love lifts the veil and leads us out of dark into the light. Switch on the light. With love, blend renunciation. Let the twain be one. Love is not love if it has not learned to renounce everything, every comfort, every attachment, every desire for the sake of the beloved. For the love of God cannot be kindled in a heart that is not emptied of all else. Ibrahim bin Adham was the king of Balkh. He renounced everything. He renounced his throne, he renounced his palace, his wife, his child, and set out in quest of Allah. He became a saint through whom the joy and inspiration of God flowed out to many. After several years, Ibrahim meets his son. A spark of love for the child is generated within his heart. He embraces the prince and greets him with the warmth of love. Immediately he hears a voice which says, Ibrahim, either love me or love the child. Make your choice. Ibrahim quickly departs. On his lips is the prayer, forgive me, O Lord. Forgive me, I love thee and none besides. From the mingling of love and renunciation arises inward light. Switch on the light. You need both love and renunciation. The nations need a message of light in every department of life. Light is needed, and the light is within you. You are the light. Did not the Buddha say to his disciples, "Be ye lamps unto yourselves"? Atta Deepa. Be ye lamps unto yourselves. Switch on the light. Many years ago, I said to Gurudev, "You have asked us to study the scriptures and the lives of saints. So long as we are immersed in the study, we feel light and luminous. We feel filled with joy and peace. But as soon as we cease to study, the light departs, and we are plunged into darkness." Gurudeva's answer was a parable. He said, two men journeyed together. Two men journeyed together through a jungle on a dark, starless night. One of them had a lamp by whose light they moved on. At midnight, they arrived at a point where their paths divided, and each had to move on alone. The man with the lamp walked without fear. The other one was plunged into sorrow. Sadhu Vaswani spoke to us of the triple light. There is firstly the light of the body. Keep the body pure, keep the body strong, keep the body healthy, and it will radiate light. Purity is yoga, said Sadhu Vaswani. When I asked him if I could take up a course in yogic asanas and pranayama, the bodies of so many today are weak, pale, emaciated, anything but lustrous. For today, a cult of pleasure is abroad. Today, young men confound love with sensation, and not a few find fault with ideals of morality. The light of the body is brahmacharya. Everyone who would switch the light must purify himself from the lower self of desires. He must still the tumult of the senses. There is secondly the light of the mind. Reflection, the power of understanding, is what India needs and the nations need. For India today and the nations are being broken into pieces. Patriotism is becoming parochial. The barriers between provinces and communities are widening. Therefore, said Sadhu Vaswani, truth first. Brother pilgrim on the path, be thou a seeker of truth. Truth, not tradition. Truth, not dogmas, creeds, communities, races. Seek ye the truth, said Jesus, for it is truth that will make you free. in our search for truth, Sadhu Vaswani said, three things must be noted. Firstly, humility. Secondly, simplicity. Thirdly, meditation. Truth must not be proud. So let us grow in the spirit of humility. In expressing truth, let us not hurt or injure another. Einstein, the greatest scientist that humanity has produced so far, he said, truth is the religion of humanity. The light of the body is brahmacharya, and the light of the mind is understanding. The light of the heart is compassion. By switch on the light is meant switch on this triple light in your daily life. A young man asked a guru, Gurudev, what is the way to God? What is the way to God? The Guru answered, there is no way to God, for God is no other than here and now. Then tell us the essence of God, said the disciple. There is no essence of God, for God is all and nothing, was the answer. Then said the young man, tell me the secret that I might know that God is all. My friend, replied the Guru, there is no way. There is no essence. There is no secret. The truth you seek is not hidden from you. You are hiding from it. One day, a man punished his young daughter for wasting a roll of gold wrapping paper. Money was tight in those days, and he was furious when the child tried to decorate a box. Nevertheless, the little girl brought the gift to her father the next morning and said, Daddy, this is for you. He was embarrassed by his earlier overaction, but his anger flared again when he found the box was empty. He yelled at her, don't you know, when you give someone a present, there's supposed to be something inside it. His daughter looked up at him with tears in her eyes and said, oh, Daddy, it is not empty. I blew kisses into the box. All for you, Daddy. The father was crushed. He put his arms around the little girl and he begged her for forgiveness. An accident took the life of the little girl only a short time later. And it is told that the man kept that box, that gold box, by his bed for many years. And whenever he was discouraged, he would take out an imaginary kiss and remember the love of the child who had put it there. in a very real sense. Much of us, so many of us, in a real sense, each one of us has been given a gold container filled with unconditional love and kisses from our children, our friends, our family, and above all from God, despite how we have behaved towards them. Switching on the light does not make a man special. Someone asked a monk, "What is your life like as a monk?" The monk replied, "We walk, we fall down, someone helps us. We walk some more, someone else falls down. We help them up. That is pretty much what we do." My friends, my time has traveled fast. In the time yet left to me, because we are to have a question and answer session, in the time yet left to me, I would wish to pass on to you a few practical suggestions on how to switch on the light. Practical suggestion number 1, do not be a dweller in the dark. Therefore, seek the company of the good and the holy ones. Seek satsang, association with the good, which will light your way forward. Practical suggestion number 2, in the words of Gurudev Sadhu Vaswani, be not dominated by passions. Anger and lust are flames of negativity. Conquer them, and you will be radiant with light. Practical suggestion number 3, the worst darkness is selfishness, which binds you to others, selfishness which blinds you to others' pain and suffering. Therefore, think less of yourself. Think more of others. Practical suggestion number 4, cultivate the virtue of detachment. Learn to overcome attachment to money and material possessions. Give, give, give. Let give be the rule of your life. Give your wealth, your talents, your time, your efforts. Those who give live, the rest are no better than dead souls. Practical suggestion number 5, grow in the awareness that this life is a fleeting moment in eternity. Therefore, remember, you are not the body that you wear. You are an immortal Atman, each one of you. Perhaps that is why we have been given this human birth, that we may realize that we are not the bodies that we wear. We are the indwelling Atmans. Practical suggestion number 6. Pray to God for His special grace. When you live in the awareness that you are God's child, the divine spark within you is lit up. Practical suggestion number 7. Seek the guidance of a guru, a spiritual mentor, who is the most powerful source of light and inner wisdom. Even as fire kindles fire, even as light kindles light, so will the flame start burning within you. Practical suggestion number 8. Fill your heart with the love of God and the love of all His creation. Therefore harm no one by thought or by word or by deed. Practical suggestion number 9. The law of love is the law of service and sacrifice. Therefore go out of your way to help others. Practical suggestion number 10. Know yourself. Spend some time in silent meditation every day. I call it our daily appointment with God. Every day, preferably at the same time, preferably at the same place, come and sit in a silence corner. The rishis taught that the Atman transcended speech and mind, and more than once the rishis indicated that the Supreme was silence. I forget the exact words, but the rishis often said, Shantyo Atman, something of that sort. The Atman is silence, and silence is the light within, lit and discovered. There is a famous cave some 60 miles from Auckland in New Zealand. It is known as the Cave of the Glowworms. You reach it in a boat pulled by a wire for silence. As you glide down the stream, you suddenly come across a soft light gleaming in the distance. Then you enter a magic world of fairyland. From the top of the cave, thousands of threads hang down from the glowing insects. So great is the light that it is possible to read a book there. But if there is the slightest noise, the bright light dies out, just as if a switch has been turned off. Switch on. Switch on the light. Switch on the light. Switch on the light.
Dada, let me begin by telling you how much I enjoyed, and I think every one of us over here, how much we enjoyed your talk. And I think a big round of applause for Dada. And in many ways, you've answered all our questions with some very practical advice on how to switch on the light. And what has always amazed me about you, even the last time I met you, and I had the privilege of meeting you last year, and it's amazing how every year you grow younger and more charming, and it's so wonderful to be here. But I think one of the most amazing things I have, the first thing I realized when I spoke to you was how you are the fountainhead of knowledge and how beautifully you have brought together different thoughts from different spheres, from different religions, and woven it into a very simple message, which is something that, all of us will always cherish. So thank you so much for that.
You will enjoy all the more if you live the life.
Absolutely.
It is life that is needed.
Absolutely.
It is easy to speak. It is easier to listen. But the difficult part is to live.
Yes. And,
Live.
and in that spirit, Dada, we've got some questions for you, which we want to ask you and gain from your wisdom. And also, everybody who's met you has had a life-changing moment. So we want to also encapsulate more of that. So I'm going to start off with a very basic question, Dada.
Call me not wise. I am not wise. I am a little child. And I should have told you that if there is a question to which my answer has not been a correct one, or to which you have a better answer, kindly don't hesitate in asking for a mic. Nothing will make me happier than to leave this hall having been enlightened by your wisdom, by your experience, by your knowledge.
Well, Dada, that is the light
Thank
within you that is speaking, because I think you personify everything that you spoke about and what spirituality is all about. But I'm going to start by asking you, we are very blessed, I believe, to be born in this great country of great wisdom. But the world as we see it is, facing perhaps the darkest hour, because in the name of God, in the name of faith, there is so much of hatred, there is so much of pain, and there are so many questions. From your standpoint, when you look at what is happening, what is it that you see? Where have we gone so wrong?
Even as there are seasons in a year, you have the spring season, but you also have the autumn season. Likewise, in all affairs, we have seasons. And the ancient rishis called them yugas. They said there were 4 yugas. There was the Satya Yuga, when everything was wonderful, everything was bright, everything was luminous, everything was correct. Then came the second Yuga. In Satya Yuga, it was 10% truth. Then came the second Yuga, Treta Yuga. In Treta Yuga, 25% of falsehood entered. It was 25% untruth, 75% truth. Then came the third Yuga, Dwapar Yuga. In Dwapar Yuga, it was 50-50. 50-50. We are now in Kali Yuga. We are fortunate. We are in Kali Yuga. A little effort on our part can take us to the highest.
So this is the worst it can get, right?
I think.
This is the worst it can get. It can't get worse than this.
No, we'll turn
Okay,
over.
great. That's something
To
to, thank God for. But, one of the problems, Dada, is that hatred is what comes forth, and the message of peace and love is not as loud as the message of hatred, of people trying to score over each other, etc. How do we balance it off, you think?
Because our hearts have been covered by veils of falsehood. It is they that shape our life. Now, if only our hearts get washed, cleansed, the same person can become
Absolutely.
a sage, a saint.
So that's why the theme of today, switch on the light, that
Yeah.
becomes even more important because it is the light within each person.
Yeah.
You know, in one of the books that you wrote, you spoke about how one of the finest things we can do is to teach our children how to be good individuals, how the children will heal this world. Do you think enough is being done? What is your message to every parent over here who is, trying to...
My message to every parent is that they should not merely try to teach their children by words, but it is life that is needed. The child sees the life of the parent. He wishes to live like the parent. The parent, there was a little boy, he came and he told me, he said, my father always tells me, speak the truth, speak the truth. But on last Sunday, a man came from the bank. He knocked the door, I opened it, and he asked me, is your father in? I said, I'll go and see if he is in. I went to my father's bedroom, he was there. I told him, the man from the bank has come to meet you. He said, go and tell him that he is not in. Now what shall I do? On the one hand, I have to follow my father's instructions.
Sure.
On the other hand, I have to speak the truth. So I quietly came and told the man, my father says that I should tell you that he is not in. That is the difficulty.
Okay, that's a very, very well put point, Dada. But I'm going to ask you, for a lot of Indians, and I think for a lot of us, the daily grind of life, the daily search for making sure that there is financial security, that you have money for your children, that gets us so occupied that we don't have enough time to take a pause. Do you think this generation is, particularly materialistic in that context?
I think we are living complicated lives.
That is true.
We are doing so many things which we don't really need to do. All we are asked to do is to do our duty. Let us do our duty. We will have plenty of time to give to our family and to give to other things which will make us happy. We are multiplying our work.
Absolutely, and we are also being driven by ambition and aspiration. And a lot of our ambition is about material wealth and material position.
And we are wanting things that we don't really need. My neighbor has got this, I must have it. You don't need it. If you need it, you will get it. No, I must have it because my neighbor has it.
That's a sad reality, Dada. I'm going to ask you a little personal questions. What is amazing about you is that you also trained in science. You're a scientist. You trained in the science. A little bit. Okay.
That science is superstition.
So how do you balance science and spirituality? How does a man of science make sense of spirituality? Because they are seen as two sides of a coin that don't meet.
Because spirituality too is a science. If you come to think of it, actually, it was called Atma Vidya. And Vidya means a science. That was the science of the spirit, and the sciences that we have now, they are sciences of matter. So both are sciences, both have laws. But we have made a distinction because the ordinary science studies the universe that is outside of us. There is a huge universe within us. The study of that within inner universe is spirituality. It has laws, regular laws. Yes.
Expand on that. What do you mean by that? When you say that the inner universe, is a lifetime enough to understand the inner universe? What is a spiritual path?
Then lives too will become long. We read about the ancient times that people lived for thousands of years. I don't know how far it is true, but they used to live for thousands of years. Concerning Rishi, it is written that he lived for 4,000 years. 4,000 years, he earned some siddhis, some powers. All those powers were lost because he fell in love with a girl after 4,000 years. But it may not be 4,000, it may be 400. In our own days, what was his name?
Thrilling Swami.
Swami.
Yeah.
He lived for more than 300 years.
Okay. Okay. When did the light come on for you in your own personal journey? Last time I was here, I saw this wonderful documentary about your journey, and it was fascinating to see how very early on in life you realized that you found your path. Many people don't find their path. So for a lot of people over here, give us the moment when the light came on for you within yourself.
I want the light. I have come here to get the light from these people.
We don't believe you at all. I mean, we don't think that is true, because I think, you are the one who is emanating light, the light of spirituality. But was there a moment when
I will ask every one of you to pray for me so that the light may be given to me.
No, but is there a moment? What was the moment with the closest connection to God, you thought?
The closest connection to God is leave everything to God. Leave everything to God. Whatever is to happen will happen. You cannot change it. The video is made. Can you change the video? Whatever is to happen will happen. Then what is in our hands? In our hands is this one thing, our reaction to what is happening to us. I can react in a positive way, I can react in a negative way. A family of 3, the father and 2 daughters. The father passed away. I visited them. The elder sister had taken it in a positive way. She was reading from the Bhagavad. And she said, I feel grateful to God that He gave us our saintly father for so many years. He could have called him away 10 years earlier, but I feel grateful that He gave us for so many years. The younger daughter was in tears. She tore her hair. She abused God. She did so many things. Now this is in our hand. Either to react in a negative way or in a positive way. Whatever is to happen has to happen. Whatever you may do. There are mothers I know, they are very much worried about their daughters if they grow up and they have not married. So worries will not marry your daughter. Your daughter will be married at the time that is meant for her marriage. Not earlier, not later. If only we accept whatever happens to us, and if possible, rejoice in it we will always be happy. There, there was one holy man. He had these words on his lips all the time. Yes, Father, yes, and always yes. Yes, Father, yes, and always yes. Not that he did not have experiences which may be called difficult.
Sure.
He passed through many difficult experiences, but he accepted them. He knew that there must be a meaning of mercy in everything that happens. If only we follow this one rule, we will be very happy.
Dada, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions on attachment. You know, in the Gita, in our scriptures, the two very important messages is one of detachment and one of giving yourself to God. You know, not being concerned with the outcome, but really, you know, and that is just two of the many, many messages over there. How can, you know, on one hand, we are to love everybody, on the other, we are to be detached. How do these sit together in your mind? Because for a lay person, they are actually poles apart, the question of detachment and the question of universal love.
It is very simple. Supposing a friend of mine goes and speaks against me, it becomes natural for me to have a feeling of hatred against him, which is wrong. My duty it is to love everyone. If somebody does not behave in a proper way towards me, it is for the law of karma to take care of it. The law of karma is there, watching. Every word that I speak, every thought that I think, every action that I perform, every emotion, every feeling that is evoked within me, the law of karma takes care of it. I should leave it to the law of karma. That is what the holy ones do. You, now my master, for instance, there was an editor of a newspaper who wrote dirty things about my master. He was bribed. A few months later, his wife got TB, tuberculosis. In those days, it was regarded as an incurable disease. He didn't have money for the medicines. My beloved master came to know of it. He sent for him and asked him, how much do you need for the medicines, and gave him. People told my master that only a few months ago he wrote dirty things about you. He said, that is not my lookout. That is for the karma to, law of karma to manage.
Sure. That's wonderful. The other problem is, you know, when you love, and I think as a parent I can vouch for every parent over here, intense love also brings with it intense fear that, you know, what happens if something goes wrong and you want to protect your dear ones. What is your message for that? Because, you know, one could say that whatever will happen, but how do you protect, or do you just leave it to destiny?
This is real protection, handing over to that higher authority. I hand myself over. In Hindi they say, Deena Bandhu, Deena Nath, Meri Dori, Tere Haath. The thread of my life I surrender in your hands. It is for you to protect me. It is for you to guard me. It is for you to take care of me. It is for you to see that I am treated in the right way. We hand over. Concerning Caesar, I think, I read somewhere that he had 2 bodyguards. While he was giving them the swords, he said to them, these are meant to protect me if anybody attacks me. But remember, they are also meant to be used on me if I fail in my duty at it.
You know, I'm going to move to some of the questions that I've got because I think this is an amalgamation of a lot of questions that have come from the audience. And I'm going to start with one very difficult one. Since I'm a journalist, I can ask difficult questions sometimes. My question is why? And I'm going to play the gender card, Dada. Why is it that through centuries we've had such few examples of enlightened women? Or has there been? I mean, is that a misnomer? Because I think every mother is enlightened for the child. But why do we have so few women gurus, you think?
Because on this planet, there are many planets. There are many types of beings. But on this planet, women have all those qualities which if a man has, he becomes a saint.
That answers all the questions, Dada. Thank you for that. Dada, the other question that a lot of people over here have is that in the attempt to go towards the spiritual, you know, to find the light or switch on the light within, you're constantly battling yourself. And I think you're always fighting with yourself, with the darkness within. And feelings of anger, of ambition, of lust, of jealousy keep cropping up. How do we stick to the path? You mentioned some practical ways to switch on the light, but how do you keep the light on?
The pilgrim on the path knows that the path that he has chosen. There are many obstacles, but every obstacle that he overcomes unfolds an amount of spiritual energy that is within him. So he welcomes it. I read of a holy man. He prayed to God. He said, God, why have you forgotten me? A whole week has passed and no trouble has come to me.
That's a great story. I'm going to ask you about material wealth, money. You know, a lot of religions talks about giving it up, you know, and yet I think what I also find interesting is that in Hinduism, artha is part of the 4, pillars of life. You know, there is a finer balance over there. What is your message on money for the audience here, for the people who are listening to you? When do you put a stop saying, hey, this is enough, now I need to give back? Is there a formula? What are the checks and balances that you can keep within to make sure that you don't forget yourself in the pursuit of money?
What is the question?
The question is on money, Dada. You know, in Hinduism, you know, you balance spirituality and money. It doesn't talk about giving it up. It also talks about hard work and creating wealth to do good. From an individual standpoint, what is the balance that you should draw within? Because the more money you have, the sad thing is the more you want. You know, so what is your advice to people who are grappling with that?
Money you will have only as much as you have brought with yourself. If you get a little more, a thief will come and take away. Or you will go to Las Vegas. You not allowed to keep more money than what you have earned in your previous lives, that which you have brought with yourself. So you don't have, even if you don't put forth an effort, that money will come to you. But spiritual treasure, there's no limit to it. You can get as much as you work for it. People do it the other way around. Spiritual, if you tell them, come to the satsang, they will say, if it is written in our destiny, that we have to put forth effort. But money, you will not get more money.
It's what you worked for in the last birth that you come in with in this
last
birth. Births. So that means you have to be a hard-working individual all your life.
It's a long journey.
When you look back on this amazing journey that you've had, what are the 2-3 turning points in your life? The turning points which, in your own spiritual quest, that you found completely, game-changing, or something that really changed the way you look at life?
When they come, I will let you know. I'm just beginning to set my foot on the path.
But looking back so far, what have been the turning points for you?
There are no turning points.
No.
There are imaginary turning points. There are people who imagine, but they are not.
No.
It's a steady path.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the most commonly used terms, Dada, is luck. Luck plays a big role.
Luck.
Chance, that you get a chance, the window of opportunity opens once and you don't keep it open. Do you believe in luck and chance, or do you think?
I believe in destiny.
And how is that different from luck and chance, you think?
But destiny is that which I make for myself. I am the builder of my own destiny. I am the maker of my own fate. The beginning is in the thought. A thought which is repeatedly held in the mind will drive you to action. If it is a thought of service, it will take you to an act of service. If it is a thought of lust, it will take you to the very abyss of lust. Thought takes you to action. Action, when it is repeated, becomes a habit. We should be very careful forming our habit, because habit becomes the master. There are so many young people, they come, they say, what shall we do? We have formed the habit of taking drugs. They want to give up. They want to give up, sincerely, but they can't do it. When the time comes, they are pulled, as it were, by a tremendous force, and they cannot resist it. A habit is a terrible thing.
But you're
Be
saying
very careful of making a habit. Habit, H-A-B-I-T. Cut off its H, a bit still remains.
okay. So a bit is okay, you're saying, as long as a bit is okay. No.
A bit, then there's a bit.
Okay. So a
Cut
bit.
off its B, it still remains.
Yeah.
Cut off its I, if there's no other habit, there is the habit of T. It remains. It remains.
So what you're saying is that if you've just had a lot of bad luck, and you are fatalistic, and you say it is all destiny, that your thoughts can create a new destiny, that
Yes.
you can bring out the light within you.
You are the builder of your own destiny. Of course, yes. When God created you, He gave you the very power that he kept for himself. He gave you the power even of destroying yourself. That's why people commit suicides, which is the worst thing that they can do.
Why is that? Because I've read it many times in spiritual books that you don't have a right to take away your own life. Why is that? Why do they say that?
Because when we take away our life, it is like this. Man is built up of the physical body, and there is what they call the etheric double. The etheric double is there to draw energy from the breath and supply it to different parts of the body. When the natural death occurs, then along with the physical, the etheric goes away. We find ourselves in a world which is called the astral world. But when I take my own life, I take away only the physical life, the physical body. The etheric double is there. It makes me wonder. I keep on moving in the orbit of the earth. I am not freed from the orbit of the earth.
That in a spiritual quest, science today has, debunked a lot of theories about God. And, sometimes in moments you do wonder whether what scientists are saying today of this, one force that gives energy to every living thing across the universe is really just a physical, chemical phenomenon, or is there God? What would you say to that? I mean, because there's so many questions, because science is finding new answers, or thinking it's finding new answers.
Science is not meant for everything. Let the scientists go and manage science. What have we to do?
So that you don't think is, you should question your own beliefs or any of that? You don't think there is...
We have to go our own way. Our difficulty is that our noses become too long and they create problems. They create problems for us.
Okay. When I began by saying that you quoted from various scriptures to talk about your message, do you believe, and that, what is your view on religion, on the multiplicity of faith? Because I've had the privilege of meeting great men like you, and what I've always been amazed with is none of you talk about one religion. You talk above religion. Do we need to lift ourselves in terms of spirituality and not get lost in what kind of God that you pray to, but really the message of the God? Do you think the world is going wrong there?
In spirituality, there are no two kinds of God. There is only one God.
True.
Yes.
So this
I may be a
multiplicity...
Muslim, I may be a Christian, I may be a Hindu. There is only one God.
And the message is the same across religions?
Naturally. If it is spiritual. If it is religious, then there are many answers to the same question. Yes. And that is what creates trouble.
So we should do less of religion and more of spirituality, you think?
There should be spirituality. There should be no religion.
What do you think India can do, Dada, to send this message across? Because we are very blessed to have the Gita with us, the spiritual
We
source.
are blessed to have the Gita, but we do not have people who live the Gita. It is life that is needed. Gurudev used to say, religion, let us talk of it less, practice more. Let us talk of it less. But we have talkers. They will give you discourses. 12 hours, they will keep on talking. But if you go and look into their life, you find that it is.
That is true. That is true. What do you think of a lot of people becoming superstitious about superstition and spirituality? They don't gel. I've always been amazed at how people are superstitious about the direction of their house, the direction. What do you think about that? I mean, what is your view? Do you really
Vastu.
all of that? I mean, superstition, wearing threads, and all of that. We all look at props to protect ourselves, etc. What is your view on that?
My view is that let those who believe in it do it, but let them not come to me.
Okay. That's a good one. That's a good one. So, you spoke about switching on the light, and you spoke about your 10 steps towards switching on the light. But I'm going to ask you, what is the one message that you would want everybody over here to walk away with today? If there is something that will be life-changing, that will,
There is only one message that I would give them, the message that I give to myself. Who am I to give message to all these people? But I give the message to myself, and the same I repeat, that is, turn back to God. 4-worded message. There was a time when God was a force in our life, when God was real to us. Today God is only a word. That is why you have indiscipline, anarchy, terrorism, all these things have come because we have thrown God out of our homes and out of our educational institutions. These are the two centers of character building.
There is a lot of fear about talking about God in educational institutions because the question of religion comes in. What is your...
because the teachers are religious, they have thrown spirituality out. They have thrown God out. That's the difficulty.
That's a very powerful message, Dada.
Yes.
That turn
Bring
to God.
God back. Turn back to God.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, Dada, thank you so much from the bottom of our heart for this wonderful conversation.
If they and you are not getting late, we shall close this meeting with just 5 minutes of silence. Silence is everything. Silence is something that can change our life. The difficulty is that we have created noise. Everywhere there is noise. If you agree,
Yes,
5 minutes, we have our satsang every day. The last 5 minutes are always given to silence. And someone will, who will, you will do it. 5 minutes.
तेरी ही कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है। करते हो तुम प्रभु जी, मेरा नाम हो रहा है। प्रभु तेरी ही कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है। तकलीफ और तंगी में नूर एक तू ही मददगार। उठाए हैं अंजलि के जन्मों के सारे भार। करता नहीं मैं कुछ भी, करता नहीं मैं कुछ भी, सब काम हो रहा है। करते हो तुम ओ दादा, मेरा नाम हो रहा है। दादा तेरी ही कृपा से सब काम हो रहा है। सब काम